outside of 32 Kentish Road, Elizabeth Downs, the home of Fiona Perkins, on August 30th, 1985. On that Friday afternoon, Fiona returned home from school at around 1 p.m, and that night she and her mother were planning on going to the ballet at the Adelaide Festival Theatre in the city. So at approximately 4 p.m, Fiona left this house to walk about 1 kilometre, 10-15 minute walk to the nearby Elizabeth Park shops to buy some lollies for the ballet that night. So Fiona left this house (32 Kentish Road) and would have began walking in a southerly direction along Kentish Road. This is the path Fiona would have taken on Friday afternoon, August 30th, 1985. Now we're coming up to the corner with Crocker Road, and there's the reserve that separates from Yorktown Road, and in that reserve area is where Fiona was attacked. But before we reach that, just an interesting footnote: on the corner of Crocker Road and Kentish Road is St. Catherine's Anglican Church. We'll just have a quick look at this. This is only about 50 metres from Fiona's former home. See, here we are. This is St. Catherine's Anglican Church. Now, the significance of this is that Fiona was quite heavily involved with this church. Fiona was an active churchgoer, I believe an altar girl. So it was obviously an important place for Fiona. As I said, it's only 50 metres, maybe less, from her home. And that is the corner of Docket and Kentish Road. Now, into this reserve is where Fiona walked. This separates Docket Road and Elizabeth Downs from Yorktown Road. This is the reserve where Fiona was attacked. Now, of course, I don't know the exact path Fiona took that afternoon, but if we pan back around, that's the corner of Docket and Kentish, so she would have crossed there and into this reserve area, and the Elizabeth Park shops is in that direction there, which is, what's that, southwesterly direction. So we'll just cut across this reserve area to where Fiona was attacked. This was, of course, on a Friday afternoon. Um, 4 o'clock in the afternoon approximately. So this was not middle of the night stuff. This is a relatively busy area. I mean, they call it like a reserve, but it's more like a large, medium strip. As you can see, Yorktown Road in the distance, which is quite a busy road. And there are houses lining Yorktown Road, and behind us, Docket Road, is suburban houses, people coming and going. So I'm sure Fiona felt safe as anything, and for her to be so cruelly attacked in such a random manner, truly awful. Now we're just making our way through this area here to where the tunnel is. Now, this area here, there's something here that I'm pretty sure was not here in 1985. But we're coming up to the location where Fiona was accosted. Right around here, there is a tunnel or culvert that runs under Crocker Street. That street there is Crocker Street, and this is the tunnel where Fiona was murdered in. So once again, getting our bearings, Fiona walked from that direction, and at some point around here she was accosted. She was attacked by a 34-year-old named James David Watson. Now, I don't know a whole lot about Watson, why he was in the area, but he does appear to be some sort of a bit of a transient character, constantly moving, so he may have just been here. He may have just spotted Fiona and randomly attacked her, but he grabbed her, I guess, in this area, dragged her into the tunnel, or at the foot of the tunnel, where I think he attempted to rape her. I'm not sure if he committed that crime or not, but he eventually strangled her to death and left her here. So this is the culvert right here. Now, there are two sides of this tunnel, and I'm not exactly sure which side Fiona was on, so we'll have a closer look at both sides. I'm down now at the foot of the tunnel. This is what I would call the eastern side. As I said, that is Crocker Street right there, and this tunnel runs underneath Crocker Street for about, what's that, 20 meters or so. If we go down into the tunnel, be careful, there's a bit of water around, a bit of rain around lately. As you can see, you're sort of hidden down here. As I go a bit lower down, Yorktown Road is just up there, but once you get down here, you're out of view of most people. But it's still such an incredibly brazen, horrible attack in broad daylight on a Friday afternoon, no less. Let's get down a bit. So, yeah, this was the tunnel Fiona's body was found in. See if we can get a bit closer. See how it's okay. So that runs to the western side. See if I can get in here a bit. Yeah, it's pretty. I mean, I can get in here. I'm a fairly big person, so yeah, definitely. But yeah, Fiona must have been dragged in here and just left here. The body was found at about 6 p.m, a couple of hours after she'd gone missing. Her mother reported her missing, and I'm not sure who found her actually. I'll see if I can make my way down here. It's a bit precarious under here. A bit of water around. See if I can emerge from emerge in the western side. It's a bit more water here actually. Okay, I think I'll go back. So back above ground, so just follow the path of this tunnel above ground. This is Crocker Street. Now, Fiona may have been attacked and murdered on this side of the drain. Just not 100% sure, but this is the western side. A bit more rain on this side. So yeah, so that's where, again, looking through that tunnel I just was in. See, it's a very short distance from one side to the other. But this is where Fiona Perkins' body was found. Now, the fate of her murderer, James Watson, After the murder, he fled the scene, predictably, and he made his way all the way to Yamba, which is near Renmark, near the Victorian border, so some distance from here. I'm not sure how he got there, whether he hitchhiked or... and he was found about a week later, in fact 1 week later, on September the 6th, 1985. He was found in the bush at Yamba, suffering from exposure, so he'd obviously been living rough out in the bush. Not sure who found him, whether it was the police or... But he was taken to Renmark Hospital, treated for his exposure, and there he was charged with Fiona's murder by police on Sunday, September the 8th, 1985. And he was convicted of her murder in 1986, and on August 29th, 1986, he was sentenced to a 24-year non-parole period, which was later readjusted to 16 years under the change in legislation in 1994, the Truth in Sentencing Act, which is a bit hazy to say the least. In 2002, he became eligible for parole. On his first bid for parole, it was refused. But from that point on, every other parole attempt, it was granted. And in this, amazingly, he had the support of Fiona's mother, Mrs. Yvonne Perkins, who supported his bid for parole, though I believe the father may have been opposed to it. But despite the parole board granting him parole, the government refused and overrode the parole board's recommendations on each occasion. So in the end, Watson was never released from prison. Suffering from ill health in the years, on January the 30th, 2016, he was transferred from Yatala Prison to the Royal Adelaide Hospital, and he never left. Sorry, he was transferred on January 19th, 2016 to Royal Adelaide Hospital, and there he died on January 30th, 2016, age of 64. So Watson never was released from prison. But this is the area where Fiona was found. We'll just go back up again, and I just want to quickly show you, I mean, what strikes me about this murder, besides its brutality, is how random and brazen it was. You've got relatively busy Yorktown Road there, houses on either side, an area Fiona was familiar with. Just shows you how such evil viciousness can strike anywhere. Truly, it does amaze me. At the time of the murder, I would have been 1985. That means I was 8 years old and lived not far from here in Elizabeth Vale. But I actually don't have any recollection of the murder. But I'm sure it would have been a very big news in the local area. And what I do remember over the years is every time we drove past here, my dad would point out that a murder had occurred in a drain here, and I had no idea what he was referring to until I rediscovered Fiona Perkins' murder. But that's where it happened, here in Elizabeth Downs, northern South Australia. The tragic murder of Fiona Perkins. I'm outside the Elizabeth Park shops on Yorktown Road. This is where Fiona was heading to. Now, I don't know if she made it to the shops that afternoon and was attacked coming home. Something tells me she was attacked before she made it to the shops. But she was walking, and she would have been coming in that direction. I'm sure she'd come here many times before. That's looking north towards where Fiona lived. And this would have been her destination. The Elizabeth Park Shopping Centre. I'm at Enfield Memorial Park. I'm here to visit the grave of Fiona Perkins. I have located the gravesite of Fiona Perkins. here at Enfield Cemetery. See if we can get in here. Photo of Fiona. So the headstone reads Perkins. Precious memories of Fiona Louise, age 14 years, August 30, 1985. Darling daughter of Yvonne and Roland, and beloved sister of Jason, in the arms of Jesus. So that is the gravesite of Fiona. It's located in the Anglican section. Just give you a bit of a visual guide. It's right beside the road near the main car park chapel area. There's actually two Anglican cemeteries. It's one over there, and that's further to the east. But this is the one Fiona is located in. Such a tragedy. Rest in peace, Fiona.